when you're involved in a real estate transaction, especially as the buyer, when do you need a quality zoning report, and what is the most important question that a good zoning report is going to answer for you? So what is a zoning report? We need to answer that question first before we get to the big question. So zoning report is typically just a list of the regulations, land use regulations that apply to a particular parcel. Most of those regulations come from the zoning code. That's why it's called a zoning report. There's other kinds of regulations that can apply to the parcel that could come from like a general plan or a specific plan or other ordinances that the agency has, but typically it's the zoning. That's where the regulations or the rules come from for what you can do with a parcel. And so that's why it's called a zoning report. So I mentioned in the beginning of the video, we want to know why you need a quality zoning report. So what is a crappy or crummy zoning report? What's a bad zoning report? I see them all the time. You know, you usually pay about $800 for them. They're usually put together by, you know, companies that are not in California. And you know what they do is they just go in and they pull the municipal code right off of the city website, and they give you something that's about 300 pages, and it's got all the code in it. There's no summary, there's no explanation, and it's really just not very helpful. And I see a lot of those. I think they're a waste of money. They're not very helpful. You know, if that's all you needed, you could just go to the city website. I don't know why you're paying for a zoning report. So what is a boundary surveyor? In what situations would a boundary surveyor like me ask you, the client, for a zoning report? So there's two reasons we'll do that. One is if we're helping you with due diligence on a real estate transaction. Typically, we're going to ask you for a zoning report, or we'll offer to prepare a zoning report. Either one. We do prepare zoning reports here at RH. But we need a zoning report to do proper due diligence. That's an important part of the information that you need to evaluate a real estate transaction. So that's one reason. If we're helping you or your team with due diligence, we're going to need a zoning report, or we're going to need to assemble the information that would be in a zoning report. The second reason is if you check the box, if the lender checks the box on the Table A requirements for a land title survey, and they ask for the surveyor to plot setbacks and list parking requirements, then the spec says that you have to give the surveyor a zoning report. And I'm often surprised at the number of times I have people tell me they'll check that box, and I'll say, hey, I need my zoning report so I can take care of this Table A item. And they'll say, we don't have the zoning report. Can't you just go do it? No, I can't. I can't just go do it. Why not? Well, it's not simple a lot of times. Sometimes it is simple, but a lot of times it's not simple. I'll give you an example. We just had this happen last week. We had a client. They wanted the setbacks plotted and the parking requirements shown on the land title survey, and they didn't have a zoning report. And we spent, I don't know how many hours, 3 or 4 hours, trying to comb through the zoning code. It was a complicated zoning code, and there was a specific plan overlaid on top of the zoning, and then there was another type of plan laid on top of that. And we were running all over the municipal code trying to figure out these requirements. And bottom line is, I'm probably not getting paid to do that. And so there's a limit. There's just a limit to how much we'll do about zoning for free on a land title survey. At some point, if you really want to know, if the zoning code is complicated and you want to know where the setbacks are and you want to know what the parking requirements are, you got to pay for a zoning report. You either got to pay me to do it, or you got to pay somebody else to do it, and then you got to give it to me. Those are your two choices. Okay, so those are the two reasons why a boundary surveyor is going to need a zoning report, because they're helping with due diligence, or they're trying to take care of that Table A item on a land title survey. And like I said, a lot of boundary surveyors will prepare that zoning report for you if you ask them, but they're going to want to get compensated for that. Okay, so why do you need a quality zoning report? That's the question we started the discussion with. Why do you need that? Why is it important to have a quality zoning report? So there's a couple reasons why we're usually looking at the zoning report, and it's usually the bank. The bank on a transaction wants to answer a couple questions. So number one, they want to see the building setbacks, and they want to know if any of the existing structures violate the building setbacks. So that's one reason. The second reason you need a quality zoning report is the bank usually wants to know what the parking requirements are, and they want to know if the existing parking on the site meets the requirements. Those are the two main reasons. Some other things we look at is lot width and depth minimums, street frontage minimums, floor area ratios, block coverage ratio requirements, slope requirements. I mean, there's all kinds of other things that could be in the zoning code. requirements for the parcel that the parcel needs to meet to be what we call in conformance. And so in a real estate transaction, you need a zoning report to be able to figure out if the parcel meets the requirements, the local land use regulations, the local land use requirements. And so you got to look at a zoning report to do that. So that the second part of the question we started the discussion with is, okay, so that's why you need a quality zoning report, right? Somebody wants to know, what are the rules, the land use rules, land use regulations that apply to this parcel? Okay, the second really important thing that your zoning report needs to do is it needs to answer the question, does the parcel comply with the rules or not, right? Seems simple. I rarely ever read a zoning report that actually has that information, right? So if you're paying for these $600, $800, $1,200 zoning reports, they're not going to tell you that. They're just going to regurgitate the municipal code. It doesn't answer the question, is the parcel in conformance or not, right? So your zoning report should answer that question, is the parcel in conformance? It should tell you what are the rules that actually apply to the parcel, okay? Because just handing somebody the municipal code does not tell you what rules apply, right? So you need to know what rules actually apply to this parcel. You need to know, does the subject parcel comply with those rules, right? What are the rules that actually apply? Does the parcel comply with the rules? And then bonus, if you can get this answered out of whoever's preparing your zoning report, if there is a violation of the land use regulations, if the parcel violates the current rules, how do you fix that? How do you bring it into compliance, right? That's what you really want to know. So get a quality zoning report. Don't buy garbage. Don't buy garbage zoning reports from, some firm, out-of-state firm that has no idea what they're doing. They're just downloading code from zoning.com. Like that's not good due diligence. Get a quality zoning report. Make sure that zoning report answers the question, what rules apply to the parcel, and the question, is the parcel in conformance with those rules? That's what you really need to know.